Welcome to episode 9 of the Sustainable Tech Partner podcast, hosted by Joe Panettiere. Today's guest is Elisa Moscolin, Executive Vice President of Sustainability and Foundation at Sage. We discuss her role and priorities within the software company. We explore how Sage is helping small and mid-sized businesses with their sustainability journeys, and we examine how Sage's partners will assist those SMB customer efforts. Great to see you. How you been?
Hi, very well, thank you.
Let's start with a little bit with some background about you. Now, I think you joined Sage in roughly January 2022 as Executive VP of Sustainability and Foundation. So two-part question. What attracted you to the company and what exactly does the role involve?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Joe. And what attracted me to Sage? Well, two things. One was technology. I really believe that technology has an important role to play in unlocking sustainability. But let me be also very clear. I don't think we can just hope that it's going to save the world and keep polluting and raising emissions. I think we need to do both. We need to leverage technology at its best and use it to unlock solutions for sustainability and at the same time reduce emissions. And I think this will be a particularly hot topic at COP. And then the second, and I would say biggest reason why I joined Sage was the customers that Sage focuses on. So Sage is an accounting software solution, as you know, and we serve small, medium businesses. We also provide HR and payroll systems. And I felt my whole career that small, medium businesses are completely missing from the picture. And that can't be right. Mm-hmm. So when Sage approached me, I really felt it was a great opportunity to elevate this agenda and support small, medium businesses along this journey.
Yeah, you and I are completely aligned on that, and I'll tell you why. So much of my career has been focused on the IT channel and solutions providers and MSPs that support small businesses, right? And that was my previous life. When we launched Sustainable Tech Partner, much of our coverage, I've really worked hard to cover small and mid-sized business, but much of the conversation involves enterprise. And that's why I was so thrilled that you confirmed this podcast with us, because you have such expertise in this SMB space, which I think so many people are overlooking. So, but before we get to that SMB conversation, and this may involve it or not, you tell me. My next question is more about your priorities. We're recording this in late November 2023. Can you recap for us what some of your priorities were for 2023 and how have those played out so far?
Yes, sure. So, look, Sage's strategy has three pillars. One is protecting the planet. So that has two angles to it. One is us reducing our own emission, so getting to net zero, and we've got a commitment to achieve net zero by 2040 and halving our emission by 2030. And this is all aligned to the Science-Based Target Initiative, which means that basically we can't buy our way out, and we've got to do this properly. So that's one side of the protect the planet coin. And the other side is how are we going to how can we support small, medium businesses to achieve net zero, to embark in their journey? And that's really exciting. And I think the impact we can have through that is massive, right? So how have we done so far? Well, look, on net zero, we've reduced emissions by 16.5%. Since our baseline 2019. Now, I understand this probably means nothing to most, but what it means is we're doing okay, we're doing well, and we are starting to track aligned to our trajectory to achieving net zero. On the other side of the pillar, or the coin that I mentioned, which is how are we supporting SMBs to net zero, we acquired Spheric, now rebranded as Sage Earth, which is a carbon accounting software solution that supports small, medium businesses to perform their carbon footprint in a very automated and efficient way. And are really excited about it. And we're trying to now get more and more small, medium businesses to adopt it, to use it, and to embark in this journey. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is tech for good. And it's all about trust, right? I mean, how much do we talk about AI and data nowadays? And we know that our business, the currency of our business is data, is technology, and we do know that we're nothing without the trust of our customers and the trust in our network. So we've invested a lot of focus around our tech for good strategy. We've launched data and AI ethics principles. We've got a policy. We've created a council that is very interesting. I sit actually in the council and we debate ethical dilemmas around the use of AI, which is really interesting. And also, how do we use data for good? So, for example, how do we use the insights that we get from our customers to help them take better decisions? The last pillar is human by design, and this is all about how we show up as an employer. Look, we are a big FTSE 100 company. We know that we've got an important role to play as an employer. And last year we achieved Times Top 50 in gender equality list. We've invested a lot in our colleague success networks, well-being, and the skills of our colleagues. So there's been a lot of work around how do we really enhance the employee experience, but also support our colleagues to thrive. And all of this is underpinned by trying to do sustainability by design. What we mean by that is we're really trying to hardwire sustainability in the business and make sure that it is at the heart of every decision we take. And that's boring job because it's all about policies, risk, and me creating committees and going to the board and writing papers. But it's so important. And you know what, Joe? It's actually what makes us sustainable, because once you have built it into the mechanism, it makes sure that every time we take a decision at Sage, we ask the question, but what's the impact on climate? What's the impact on the human capital? So that's what we've been busy with in 2023.
Fantastic. Yeah, it sounds like you're injecting this into your DNA, so it just becomes part of your muscle memory, so to speak. As I mix multiple metaphors there, but you get the basic idea. Now you and I are catching up about a day before, give or take a day before. I think you're flying to COP28. Can you tell me a little bit about why you're going and what you hope to achieve there, or what Sage hopes to achieve there or communicate there?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I think 24 hours flight away. So I'm really excited and hopeful for this year's COP, which I know it's a slightly controversial one. But I'm going there on a very clear mission, which is bringing the voice of small, medium businesses around the table. And COP has, since a while now, it has a health day, a finance day, a food day, a nature day. And I keep wondering, where is the small, medium businesses day? Because you know what? They are 99% of our global economies. We do need a day dedicated to them. And for the first time this year, we've managed through a partnership with the International Chamber of Commerce to creating one day where we are hosting a day on sustainability for small, medium businesses. But of course, my job is not going to be done until it's part of the formal program and until the voice of SMEs is heard.
Fantastic. So I'll tell you what, I love your mission. If there's anything I can do, well, obviously with this podcast, we will amplify and communicate that mission to others, but keep me posted in the year ahead as future COPs come and you plan to reinforce the SMB messaging at that conference. I'd love to hear more and make sure our readers and listeners hear about it. And that's actually the perfect transition to my next question. I believe you put out some research that focused on SMB and sustainability. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What did you learn? Were there any surprises in there?
Yeah, well, it was a very interesting exercise. This is the third year that we are at COP and that we do research around the sentiment of small, medium businesses and their engagement with this agenda. The survey was global. We've interviewed over 16,000 small, medium businesses. So I'm feeling quite confident that we've got quite good insight. And look, what did it tell us? It's a long report, but the things that stood out for me was one that 8 out of 10 small, medium businesses tell us that sustainability is important. 8 out of 10. And this has grown because last year it was around 70%. So, this year it's even more important than it was last year. And to me, it's a big number. If you think about, the life of a small, medium business, I mean, to me, it's somehow inspiring that they understand how important this is. And it feels almost to me that they got it before some big corporates did, which is amazing. The second interesting insight was that said, only about 8% report on sustainability.
Right.
And that there is a kind of disconnect, right? It's very important, but they struggle to report on it. And if you don't report on something, it probably means that you can't measure it, that you're not tracking it properly, right?
Right.
So it's hard for you to really drive that action. And I think the third bit that I'd like people to take away and reflect on and then take action is why. Why is that the case? And SMEs told us very clearly it's for a couple of reasons mainly. One is around the upfront cost, and two is the complexity of reporting, right, and of the standards. There is a third one, which is the skills and the capacity, right? I think it's related very much to the complexity.
Right.
So those are very interesting insights. And what we've done this year, to take it a step further, was to say, so what? Right? Because, okay, we understand they want to do this. We understand they find it difficult. So what are we going to do about it? So we actually went on and did a study of the current reporting frameworks, identified why are they complex, and proposed a series of principles that we believe that if they were adopted by standard setters, policymakers, they would make it easier for small, medium businesses to report. And those are the type of recommendation that I'll be sharing as much as I possibly can, and as long as I have voice at COP this year.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So question for you. So you have Sage, which wants to educate the SMBs, right? You have SMB interest in this, where the SMBs are trying to wrap their arms around the reporting process and how to be better citizens. There's a gap there called the IT channel. Your channel partners of all types and backgrounds, do you see an opportunity here to educate your partners so that they can be more sustainable in their business practices, but also that they can, for instance, deploy Sage Earth and also manage Sage Earth on behalf of customers so that we get the entire SMB ecosystem moving in this direction?
Yes, 100%. So we've done a few things in this direction. So last year we launched something we call masterclasses. So this is a curriculum of content, and it's a really good content. We've got experts from different industry and from small, medium businesses as well to talk about sustainability. We've got a series of assets, and we make these available to all our customers as well as partners. In parallel to that, and I might end up in trouble for telling you that, but let's make this interesting. We're going to have a conference later on this year in February, where we're going to talk to a lot of our partners as well as customers. And Sage also has a number of engagements with our partners. And part of the program for 23 is to provide them with a sustainability kind of program and assets that they can take away. And it's interesting. So I was last year, I was in Las Vegas with our partners at our partner summit, where we, it's a time of the year where we get together with all our partners. And I was surprised by how many of them approached me and asked me about sustainability and how they can get started. We have a program for them around foundation, how they can get that started, how can they piggyback on our own foundation to run charitable programs, but we didn't have anything on sustainability. And this is what I'm working on right now to develop. So we've got some very exciting stuff coming out. And I think that they have a very crucial role to play in supporting the small, medium businesses community to really engage in this space.
Yeah, fantastic. It's great to hear. So I'm aware of that conference, by the way. Your team was kind enough to reach out. It's on my calendar. I'm looking forward to hearing more. So that's great to hear. Some follow-up questions based on the fact that the conference is in North America, I find very interesting. It's no secret that generally speaking, European partners are generally speaking ahead of North America partners on the sustainability conversation and the journey. But I'm a glass half full guy. Instead of like focusing on the fact that these North American partners may be a bit behind their European counterparts, I also like to focus on the fact that I do see progress in North America. In your research, do you see a gap between the European what the European SMBs are saying and the North American SMBs are saying? But do you at least see progress with the North American SMBs?
It's a very interesting topic. We could do a whole different whole podcast on this. But like, I think what our research tells us is, yes, it is slightly behind, but not much. Yeah. So if you look compared to the UK, for example, 76% said in the UK that sustainability is important. That's against 63% in the US.
Okay.
It's a small difference. It's not a massive difference. What it's different is the point of pressure that US companies feel compared to the Europeans. And this is, I mean, no surprise, right? So European businesses feel a lot of pressure coming from governments. And as you may know, Europe has a particular taste for regulation. So we've got lots of regulation in Europe, and especially, I don't know if you've heard of something called the Corporate Reporting Directive that's coming down from the EU, one of the many acronyms, CSRD,
Yep.
right? That is one of the first regulations that may have also small medium businesses in scope. So it's no surprise that European businesses, small medium businesses, feel the pressure more from regulators, from governments. But from the US instead, the pressure comes from customers. So
Right.
that's interesting, because I think that also thinking about, I think that the US is a very customer-centric country, right? And that's
Yep.
great. And I think this movement being driven by customers is very, very important. And what I found also interesting is that in reality, when you talk about how many SMEs want to, commit and make a claim, the numbers are very similar. So I think that there is a similar level of appetite despite the public perception. But of course, things are bound to become interesting in the next few years.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about that. The European regulations and then the US customers asking for progress from their partners and et cetera. And let me frame it this way. So you mentioned that regulation, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD. I think one of the challenges here in North America is a lot of business, particularly small businesses, are not familiar with that directive at all. Again, CSRD. My understanding is that regulation, at first glance, it looks like it focuses on big European companies. But if you take a closer look, small businesses that are part of those ecosystems, those supply chains, may have to participate and align or report into their larger ecosystem counterparts to adhere to that directive. I could be right or wrong on that, but I think that's my general understanding. What I do find interesting is regulations can be sort of that stick, right? It feels like a punishment. Okay, I got to do this. Customers requesting feels like the carrot. We always use that carrot stick metaphor here in the United States. I think both are going to happen here. I think US businesses are going to have to be aware of CSRD, but then you've got an SEC regulation potentially coming, and you've got California regulations coming. And these, at first glance, again, are enterprise focused. But I think because of scope 3 and all these supply chain reporting requirements, that small businesses will have to align and step up here. That was a really long summary, but do you agree with the thesis there, or do you think I don't quite have my facts or viewpoints right? What's your initial thoughts?
No, I think you're spot on, and like I think that small medium businesses in the U.S. Will feel the impact of CSRD and other regulations in two ways.
Mhm.
One is what's in jargon they call the trickle down effect. What that simply means is that CSRD is an interesting beast. It's a bit like GDPR, if you remember how it
Yep.
went, right? It means that if you have, even if you are uh, a US based company, but you have operations that are big enough in Europe, you will have to report. So the fact that you are a US corporate, or it doesn't matter, you still have to report. Now, how does that impact SMBs? Well, but because they have to report, it means that if you're a small medium business in a supply chain of a big corporate, you'll end up starting getting questions, right?
Right.
As well as we know, and this is not, I'm not saying anything new, but any tender process now, most of them, especially if they are from medium and big corporates, will have some questions about sustainability. So this is a trickle down effect. It's not a regulation that impacts directly small medium businesses in the US, but they'll feel the effect indirectly.
Yep.
Um, so I think that there is that. Then yeah, that there is a chance that CSRD will have, as you said, small medium businesses in scope. It will be a relatively small number, but still impacting, and it's going to, I think, start a bit of a movement in there. But I think the biggest thing will be access to supply chain, access to tender, and access to capital. Because you see, this is all connected. We don't do business in isolation. No SMEs can survive without being part of the supply chain of a big corporate or another corporate and working with their own suppliers. It's all interconnected. So then what happens? You go ask for a loan, and your bank, who, guess what, has to commit to net zero, has to start providing investment on and showing that they're shifting capital towards sustainable causes, will want to tag it. If they want to tag it, they need evidence. And there you go, the trickle down
Right.
effect starts again. An SME, if they want a loan, they need to demonstrate their environmental credentials. So I, for the ones who hope this is going to go away, I'm afraid it's not.
Right.
So I think, and I think what sometimes worries me is that I don't really want sustainability to become a reason why small medium businesses get excluded. This doesn't seem fair. So I think it is super important that we make sustainability accessible, that we make it easy, that we make it cost efficient, time efficient, so that small medium businesses can use it to really make their business more resilient. It should
Right.
never become a disadvantage. It should always be a competitive advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I don't want this to turn into a commercial for Sage Earth, but I do want to connect the dots here. You know, you're pointing out the fact that SMBs, this has to be sustainability strategies have to be accessible to SMBs. It sounds like one of your thesis points here is I'll use like the classic enterprise ERP market, right? In the classic days of enterprise resource planning software, rewind the clock in the client server era, it took years to deploy ERP and get it right. It cost a gazillion dollars to do it right, right? Fast forward to present day with cloud services, any small business can turn on an ERP system or a CRM system very rapidly. Not overnight, but very rapidly in a cost effective way. Do you see the same sort of trend emerging thanks to cloud services and SaaS so that small businesses can begin to consume sustainability related applications in an effective way so that they can align with these mandates and do right by their customers and themselves?
Well, look, absolutely, that's the ambition. So Sage Earth has launched a number of connectors with Sage 50, Free Agent, Xero, QuickBooks, and we have around 80% of the UK accounting market covered. And
Mhm.
the idea is really to make this seamless for the small medium business. It's very simple to use, right? It connects to your ERP system. It takes the data from it, and then it transforms that into your carbon footprint by applying carbon conversion factors. And like, it is a hotspot hotspot analysis, right? Because of course it's spend based. And then if you go into, and if you want and you have time, you answer a few questions through the questionnaire, and it helps you refine it and make it more precise. And I think basically think about it as a map, right? That gives the small medium business a very few clicks, very cost effective, very efficient way to say, where are my hotspots? Where should I start to tackle my emissions? And I think this is so important, to make it pragmatic, to make it simple, to make it jargon free. Now, this is I think a very important first step. When we looked through the report, we talk a lot about this, that the regulation, the requirements, they are far more complex. So, I think that there is here an opportunity to simplify them, but also an opportunity for technology companies like ourselves to try and see how we can provide solutions building on, for example, the one we've got that really helps answer the need. But yes, you're spot on again. The point here is automated, simple, easy, cost efficient, because that's what small, medium businesses told us. We don't have the time, we don't have the money, we don't have the expertise, and technology can solve it. 70%, by memory, 70% of them told us they do believe technology is the solution. So I think that there is also a market, there is appetite, they're open, they want it.
Right. Fantastic. So listen, you've covered a lot of ground for us. And I also know that you have a flight to catch soon. So one final question for you. For partners and or customers that are trying to get started here, that may not have even begun the journey, are there particular URLs or landing pages or spots on the web that they should check out to learn more information?
I'm really happy you asked. So in 5 days from now, we're going to be releasing a suite of sustainability and climate reports. We're actually launching our first climate report, which goes into depth around Sage Earth as well as our net zero journey. We're launching our sustainability report, where you can check everything I said and let me know if I got anything wrong. And you can see really all our commitments. We also have, for the ones who are listening and are, want to go deep into the data, we have an ESG data book. Now, this is not a sexy document, but it is a very important one, because that's where we've got all the numbers and the methodology. There is no hiding. We've been as transparent as we possibly can. So my belief is that this agenda, which has suffered some backlash lately, needs to be transparent, to be authentic. So if you go onto sage.com in 5 days, alongside our annual report, which also contains a bit of our strategy on the non-financial reporting and sustainability, you'll find all these reports, and that includes also the diversity, equity, and inclusion. So there's lots of reading, lots to keep you busy, and of course, I'm always happy to answer any questions. And Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thank you for giving us your time.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you very much. And just to clarify for our readers and listeners, so we're recording this on November 30th, 2023. So all that information that's about to go online should be online roughly around the first week of December 2023 and then thereafter. So thank you again for your time. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise. Thanks, Joe.
This podcast is copyright of Sustainable Tech Partner and Mentori Ventures. Music written, performed, and copyright of my son, also named Joe Panettiere.